What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt Deville with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some more news concerning Moses Itauma. Get this. According to Sky Sports, Moses Itauma has rejected the IBF final knockout fight against Frank Sanchez, which would have opened the door for a world fight against Alexander Usyk, a decision that undoubtedly generates debate, prudence on the part of a young prospect who still wants to develop, or a golden opportunity that slips by. How do you see it? Okay, let me counterpunch. Listen, people, at this point, the way they were pushing Moses Itauma, the way they expected Moses to blow by fighters, the way they thought that he should be doing this to each and every guy or whatever, it sounds suspect to me because of the pressure they've put on him, because it seems like you've had an easy fight. You've had a fight that didn't last one round, but then yet you turned down an IBF Eliminator against Frank Sanchez, which I think is strange, because if you guys don't know, Efe Ajagba and Frank were supposed to fight, and Efe Ajagba pulled out of the purse bid. Okay, so that left Frank with no one else to fight. But then here you go, Moses Itauma. He's supposed to be the British second coming. Now he's rejected a fight with Frank Sanchez. And here's the crazy thing. It would always, to me, okay, it's such annoyance when a fighter that has high expectations pulls out of a fight against a fighter that was his toughest fight yet. Frank Sanchez wouldn't have been a walk in the park for anybody, simply based off the fact that, you know, his pedigree, his speed, his size, which they're about the same size, you know, and you see Moses fight someone that's 36, 37 years of age, and he blows him out of the water, Dillian White, but then yet you pull out of a fight against someone younger that's in their prime. That will always seem suspect. And it wouldn't be such a big deal if they wouldn't have pushed Moses too hard or so hard, and the pressure they put upon him, you know, raises the expectation of him. Right? So if he would have just been a person that slowly or gradually took his time going step after step and going step, instead of going step, then hop 4 steps, then hop 3 steps, we would be fine. But that's what they've done. That's the model, and all of a sudden that hopping 4 or 5 steps or 3 or 4 steps has came to a screeching halt. Now you're just on this one step. Now you're rejecting fights against guys that there is a question mark. Okay, what would happen if you jumped in there with someone like Frank Sanchez? It wouldn't be like someone like you know, Dillian White trying to get on the inside because he's too slow in comparison to Moses. No, you got somebody with explosiveness, with technique, with experience, with skill, with timing. You got someone now that will teach you something about yourself, and it would be the fighter that you don't fight. So yeah, it should be debatable. He should be in question, but only because of the people that's pushing him to do certain things. Why are you not pushing him to fight Frank Sanchez? That's something very, very interesting, and I would like to know what's the reasoning, because according to Moses, hell, he wants to fight everybody. He wants this guy, he wants that guy. Why would Usyk take this fight with me? Why would AJ take this fight with me? Why would these guys fight me? Because I wouldn't have, you know what I mean? Like, because of how dangerous he is. Well, why aren't you fighting Frank Sanchez? Now that, you know, a rejection has came from your team, we want to know what it is. Unless it's an injury, we have to, because we have to know, because I want to give Moses the benefit of the doubt, mind you. However, it still stands. You still rejected a fight with Frank Sanchez for a heavyweight shot. So someone in your team, if not Moses, said, nah, we ain't taking that fight right now. And my question will be why, and we need to get to the bottom of it, because Yeah, ducks are documented in the boxing fight game, okay? This, these things are reported for a reason. Just like Abel Sanchez did not want Joe Joyce against Luis Ortiz back in the day. Or he didn't want Triple G versus Edislandi Lara back in the day. And he didn't want a certain, like Freddie Roach didn't want Manny Pacquiao to take on Terrence Crawford back in the day. Unless it's for $20 million, which he wouldn't get. You see what I mean? So a lot of these things are very, very debatable, and we have to find out why that these fights, this guy that's been avoided, that's been hungry for a fight, especially a credible fight like Frank Sanchez, you know what I mean? A fighter like Frank, boom, who has beat Frank? I get Caballero. Who has beat I got Caballero? No one. You see where I'm going with this? So if he was able to go in there and fight Frank Sanchez and beat Frank Sanchez, let alone beat Frank Sanchez the way he beat everybody else, yeah, he joins the circle with Aguet Caballero with, it's still 2 undefeated fighters to this day fighting guys that were once undefeated. In Frank's case, 1 loss. Okay, so yeah. We have to know. We have to get down to the bottom of this shit, because truth be told, guys, if Moses just decided not to fight Frank because of Frank's difficulty, that's just a duck because you weren't confident in beating that guy. That's all. You know what I mean? And I'm saying that now, assuming that's the reason, and not knowing what the real reason is. But even if it wasn't Moses, it was somebody on his team that probably thought, nah, Frank is probably a little bit too dangerous right now, so we're going to wait him out. And the waiting game in my book is always chicken shit, honestly. Golden Boy with Oscar De La Hoya, they did that to the T with Canelo and other fighters, which I don't believe in waiting out a fighter. You know what I mean? I believe in fighting the fighter when he's the hungriest. That means you give reverence to the fighter that beat him if he could. Not wait until he missed a step after wear and tear over many other fights. You know what I mean? And then he's not who he was because he's been worn down, because this is war, people. This is physical war. This is possible life-changing, life-losing war. Okay? This is a gladiator sport. This is a blood sport. You get injured. You get worn down. So I get it. But at the same time, Moses Itauma, rejecting the IBF final eliminator, I don't know about that. I don't know why he would reject it unless he was injured. But you guys tell me what you think of Moses Itauma rejecting a final eliminator, IBF eliminator, against Frank Sanchez. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!